Okay, so thank you guys so much for coming up during your summer breaks to take a look at some of our data from kinder and first grade. I was really excited to see the data that you guys and your students have accomplished at the end of the year. So I'm going to let you guys work together as teams to just kind of take a look at your overall data. So this is your data gleaned from your BAS assessments that you took in May, including their instructional reading levels and their subtests. And I want to give you a little bit of time just to dig into that data and take a look, compare it to how is our school doing compared to the district. And I'm going to actually let you fill it out so you can kind of see a side-by-side comparison. So we can kind of spread out a little bit if we need to, but kindergarten, if you will take a look at your overall grade level data.
We're going to fill it in on here.
Your overall grade level data, and let's just see how we did compared to the districts, and that will help us to kind of make some decisions as we think about next year.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah.
So below. Where's the full? What? Oh, this is it?
Yes.
29.
And your next page should have your subset data.
Okay, so below.
Yeah, their instructional relationship else is going to be still
above
in the back. Okay, this last page.
So below is 29.17%. Okay. On 20.83. And above.
Y'all actually had like beautiful percentages with no decimals up here. I don't know how often that happens.
Girl. Oh, this is just instructional level. 50%. So we had more than the district above.
Okay. And we had more than the district on. And more than the district on.
Yeah. Phonograms. Sorry. Is, you know, we're right here.
I guess just the 70s.
Yeah, because she just had one. 70.
So if y'all will take a second to just kind of think about how are we doing compared to the district? What are you thinking when you look at this data? Do you feel like this data represents what you expected your students to be performing at the end of the year? What are some things that you're noticing?
Long vowels. Sorry about that. 20.38. And then sight words 92.72.
All right, well, there's a weakness. If you guys will take a moment and just think about, as you look at your data, is this what you were expecting of the kiddos towards the end of the year? What are just some things that you're noticing about our averages compared to the district's averages? The overall possible scores are right here.
So yeah, we're below sight word.
Sight words in your phonograms, which they go back to the word work. That's why it's so important.
Do y'all have any big insights as you're kind of looking at the data? Celebrations, concerns?
Slightly higher, except for phonological, slightly below.
Right. Which is really great for kindergarten because kindergarten at the beginning of the year, our averages compared to the district averages were slightly below the district average. So we're actually performing slightly above the district in everything except for phonological awareness. Yeah, and yeah, it's negligible. It might be 1-2 kids that pushed us below that district average. What about in first grade? Did you guys have any celebrations, concerns?
Oh yeah, we had some celebrations. We had 50% above at Almond Bayou versus the district is at 43. And even on grade level, we have 20% versus 33. Now our below is still high.
29% versus 23.
we're right with the district for 2 syllables and long vowels. But
A
it's
little bit below in sight words and phonograms.
Right, yeah. And so we know that a lot of our first graders came in extremely low too. So our first grade, we were really concerned with the data that we saw at the beginning of the year, and you guys actually responded to that data by increasing your minutes in guided reading. And so although our data is coming below the district, I feel like we've still made a lot of growth as a team in the first grade, and they're definitely going to second grade as with a lot of skills, right? They've made a lot of growth, but you're right. So we're still falling just a little bit shy of the district in terms of sight words and in our phonograms, which we know are both in kindergarten and in first grade is imperative for our students to increase their reading levels, to be able to read more complex texts. They've got to have those sight words and those phonograms under control. But overall, when we look at our students, many of our students are going to the next grade level prepared. But thinking about our practices this year and thinking about the kids that are going to the next grade level still performing below, it might be more helpful for us to kind of look at those students as individuals. Right. So I've pulled the students that are performing below level in each grade level as they go up. For kindergarten, I thought it was really interesting. I actually pulled the students that are performing below level. There's only 10% of your students that are reading below level. But I also went ahead and I pulled the data for level D and level E kids, our kids that are on level. And I want you to kind of notice the difference between the subtest data for level D students and level E students. Because we oftentimes talk about why is it that they end kindergarten on level and they come to first grade and what happened over the summer. And so I think that they're, that's exactly what happened over the summer. So I think that the data kind of shows some interesting information of why do some of our kids leave on level D and then they come back in first grade at level B and level C. So if y'all will notice that specifically. And then first grade, I just pulled your students who are performing below level. If you'll take a closer look at those students, make some observations about the subtest data and how that relates to the students' reading levels.
what was she at?
Mariah, yeah, she was
Because she was I.
Mhm. Jay was on.
He came out below.
Jude.
That was what was marked, and we can cross that one off if we need
Yeah,
to.
he's an N.
Is he yours?
We can cross them off. That's odd. That would throw off our percentages.
That's okay. I think his subtests were
Pretty good.
yeah.
Speaking of subtests for kindergarten and for first grade, the boxes that you see shaded,
Yeah.
if I were to grade that on like a scale of 100, that's the percentage correct on that assessment. And so if they scored less than 75% correct, then I shaded the box. So for example, of the sight words, if there's 100 sight words, so if they read 74 or less, then I shaded that box. So that would be a 75% or below.
So that's even interesting. The sight word.
Yeah, notice how it changes and look at levels right there.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it just drops. You can see it. There's another chunk right there, and they're all a specific level.
What are you supposed to do? Well, 64, 45 for us. And they had 64. Yeah, we had 64.
So what did they highlight it for?
I guess this is a
Well, to me, your
25%
phonograms
below.
is a big indicator
Less than
of
75%.
your level
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
like if because you had to know what 80.
80, yeah.
Students that are reading
If you're
on
getting-
level E.
Yeah, all these are in the 50s.
Right.
Because she can
decode.
But if
Reading
they
at a
could,
level
but if they're on an I,
Their subtest data looks so different
Yeah.
than the students
Like
reading
you
at
in your
level
class?
E.
Yeah.
Well, like, I know with
but
this
if
one,
you also
saying,
look over here, there's special ed.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there is a reason
Mhm.
why some of that data. I mean, I couldn't get, you can't,
solve the work, like,
Right.
we don't even have 50% of sight words,
Right.
shit.
much less let's decode a word for phonogram.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't want to
For sure.
So,
Mhm. You
It's
can't
okay to be wrong.
wrong,
You have to
right.
go back and check the word. That's his, like, he should be.
is that Lindsay or Farouk?
Yeah, we do. We have to consider the students, their attitudes,
Yeah.
and their self-efficacy about themselves, those readers.
And yeah, like with this one, he's just.
So he was able to get two-syllable words.
But 80, oh, he read a sight word.
Mm-hmm.
He's not very confident.
His
But
long
he's at an
vowel.
E.
One thing I thought was really interesting is that
Yeah,
all of
that's
these
interesting.
students, most
That
of
he
them,
can
like,
read
if you look at which
two-syllable
one
words.
area, it wasn't phonological awareness.
But only
that's
read
really
56
here.
phonograms.
It seems like it's
Mhm.
Sight words.
the sight words.
Yeah.
Sight words, there's a high percentage of them that performed at 75% or
This
less
is
for their
for-
sight word data.
Mm.
Oh, and Jacob was,
Yeah.
he was a mid-year. We didn't have him.
Yeah.
all the time.
More, maybe more sight word.
And
This
even
one's an
that,
F.
oh my,
He's an F.
he's an F, yet
His
he,
sight
look at
words
his
he
sight
was
words.
solid.
And the phonograms, but we're an F.
So what's interesting is oftentimes, sight words are words that we just memorize,
Correct.
Right.
but our
That's how
phonograms,
Rowdy is. Rowdy's really good
Mhm.
at sight words.
that's going to be our ability to apply
Correct.
those phonic skills. So this student seems like he's able to memorize words when he sees them, but he
But he
can't
can't
transfer
Can't
The
apply it.
skills.
the
Yeah.
skill from word to word.
Yeah, see, like, these, I think they'll close the gap.
Mm-hmm.
What would concern me are these that are
Mm-hmm.
Right.
H's and on
Mm-hmm.
below. Because if we had one more month, those eyes would have gone to J's, and now you're on level.
Right.
Maybe an E.
So thinking about what they would need for them to have closed that gap, what would we have needed to have done? Maybe what could we have done to have been more proactive to push them? Because we can't add the other month.
No.
So what type of work would you have done if you had the extra month that maybe we could have introduced earlier?
It's the applying. It's flipping from them just it's wrote to applying it, and most of these kids, or some of them, had intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So it's them during that practice time
Mm-hmm.
really
Right.
Honing in on
honing
that
in
skill.
on it.
Just more differentiation and
So let's come back together and what are some things that you've noticed, kindergarten and first grade? So what are some things that we have
Rowdy.
noticed as you looked at a more student specific level?
Rowdy
Sight word.
did pretty good.
Sight words in kindergarten. What about in first grade? So when you looked at, what were some of your insights looking at your individual student data?
Applying.
Mm-hmm. Well, and sometimes when we look at the individual students too, like you guys notice that it's like, how is this kid just reading at the specific level? They know all their sight words,
Right.
but they noticed that the phonogram score was extremely low. So we know that that indicates that that student's not able to manipulate either those initial or final sounds or maybe the consonant clusters at the beginning. So somewhere in there, that student is not making that connection. So when we look at all of our students, though, it can be difficult to kind of pinpoint. We almost have to, I noticed that you guys talked about very specific students and you looked at certain students like not necessarily as this is all of the students performing below level, but we talked about very specific students and what specific students could do. And it can be really daunting as a teacher knowing that our students have such unique needs as readers. Some of them need phonograms, some of them need sight words, some of them still need phonological awareness in first grade. So how, as teachers, what instructional strategies do we have to begin to meet those students' needs when their needs are so diverse?
Maybe with the
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, their literacy stations.
Some more differentiation and finding out their needs and goal setting.
hard work for.
Yeah, and that just kind of goes into our overall goal this year as a campus is moving more towards that student goal setting piece, because it would be difficult for, say, Rowdy to work on his phonograms if he doesn't know that he needs to work on his phonograms, and if he doesn't know he needs to work on his phonograms,
Right.
then it's difficult for him to, hit a target that he isn't even aware exists.
Right.
So how can we communicate those goals to students and then provide them meaningful work to help them with reaching those goals? I think you guys are spot on that we could address that through differentiated literacy stations. So we're going to spend some time today in our committee taking a look at these individual skills, knowing that, our first graders are going to need to know sight words next year. So our kindergartners are coming up. Several of them need support with sight words. What types of work can we design for our kindergartners to support them in that sight word work that we know that we're going to continue to assess throughout first grade? And so let's kind of spend some time thinking as a team, what is that going to look like? And kind of putting some tools in our tool belt for that. So we'll go ahead and we will break from here.